Hello all and welcome to this webinar. My name is Pratik Shah and I am from Mumbai, India. Over the years, I have come across many CorelDRAW users who like to use this application in their own unique ways. And I have seen many of them ignore some very basic things which helps make the design look good. In this video, I am going to talk about how you can eliminate some of those basic mistakes that many of the CorelDRAW users do and help you use the application quite efficiently. To start up with, the very basic thing that needs to be taken care of is to correctly set up your working document. Starting with the correct page size, the page orientation, the working unit for the project, and most importantly the page layout. As far as page size, page orientation and unit is concerned, this is not of much worry, as you can always change those things later on during the project. But the important thing is the page layout, which you have to decide first up before starting to work on this project. The reason being, when you go to options, document and layout, you have to decide whether you want to work on a facing page document or a full page document. Facing page document is not generally recommended that you toggle between on and off while working on the same document, as the Corel itself recommends in this warning text here. So you need to decide whether you want the facing pages on for the specific document or not. So that's the basic document setup you need to take care of to start up with. Then comes the primary color mode and the working resolution of your document. This is very important to set up how your design is going to be printed, or is it going to be used for the web. So if you're designing for the print media, you need to work in a CMYK environment with a 300 dpi resolution. Whereas if you are working for a web media, it is generally recommended to work in an RGB mode with a 96 or 72 dpi resolution. Now what happens is, or what I have seen many users do is, they use a lot of images from the internet which are of not so good quality, and when they have a 300 dpi resolution document and they import a very poor quality image which is of mere 96 dpi, and then they try to stretch the document even further, which will deteriorate the image quality. So you need to make sure that the original quality of the image is good. This is the best example where a good quality image would do. So if you have a good quality image and you try to resize, there is a minimum loss in quality. So that's an advantage. So now in this example, what has happened is we have considerably stretched down the image for final use. Let's say you are using for this size, and if you notice in the status bar, the resolution of this image has increased to 1451, which is generally not required for an pre-press job. What is needed is a 300 dpi image to get the good output. And what happens is when you have too many of such images used in your document, and if your document resolution is over 1500 dpi, your file size keeps increasing, and the more images you keep adding, the more it gets difficult, and it takes longer to save the file and work on this specific file. So it is recommended that when you have too many of such images, there is no point in keeping them at 1000 dpi. You can always convert the bitmap to CMYK mode at 300 dpi resolution. So your file size does not get much heavier, and you can easily get a good quality result output. Another basic mistake which I see is users use the RGB colors for the CMYK document. Now what happens is the RGB color gamut has too many colors which are not achievable in a CMYK environment. They are too bright to be printed in CMYK colors. So what will happen is in most of these jobs which has too much of RGB colors, the final result when printed will have a different color, or there will be a major shift in the colors. So you have to be very careful using right colors in this document. You can always find out by going into the file document properties dialog box. You can find out if there are any RGB colors used in your document. Here you can see there are 676 objects that uses RGB colors, which is not good for a CMYK print job. So there will definitely going to be a color shift in this case. Another good way of getting over such issues is a feature called as color proofing. Now when you enable a color proofing dialog Docker, what Corel does is it tries to simulate the final output depending on the color profile you have chosen. And when you enable the proof colors checkbox, you can see the change in the colors. The bright colors are now a little bit saturated, and it simulates the closest result achievable in the CMYK document. So this is a good place and good option to use while working in a CMYK document. You can visualize the final output quite easily. Now many times what a user does is they download vectors from internet to use into their designs. Now most of those vectors are RGB mode colors. So again the same issue arises that there will be a shift in colors when they are printed in a CMYK document. So if you can see here, I select this object and I go to fountain fill. This is a RGB color here. The target color, if I check, again this is a RGB color. So every color in this group of objects is a RGB color. Now how do we change all this to a CMYK color at one go so that we can get a better output? What we can do is when you keep the object selected, you go to edit, find and replace objects. Then there is an option to replace the whole color model at one go. I'll keep selected the apply to currently selected objects only checkbox, so that this change is applied to only the objects that are selected. You go to next. You need to find a color model that is to be changed, that is RGB in this case, and it is to be replaced with a CMYK environment. And this is basically you have to select whether you want it to be applied to the fills of the object or the outlines of the object. First we'll select the fill, finish, and then I'll say replace all. So Corel will automatically convert all the RGB colors to the nearest CMYK color possible in print environment. Now I need to run this same command again. So I'll go back to replace a color model, same thing, but this time the only thing we need to change is I'll change the fill to outline. So now the color replacement is carried out on the outline of the objects. That is it. And now this group of objects does not have any RGB colors, and all the colors are converted to CMYK. So that's one way of handling the RGB colors in CorelDRAW. So if you now try to toggle the color proof checkbox, you can see the change in colors because we have selected a specific color profile which is being simulated for the final output. So that is how you take care of the RGB colors. Another important setting that I have seen users ignoring is the color management dialog box, wherein you have this checkboxes to warn you on the missing or a mismatched color profile. Now whenever you import or paste an object or an image into CorelDRAW, all those objects or image should have some kind of a color profile associated with it, so that it is basically how the colors are processed depending on the default color management settings in the application. And let's say when I go to tools, color management and default settings, there is something called as warn on color profile mismatch, warn on missing color profile while opening a document, and import and paste document. So here there are some options that user can select what needs to be done for each of these actions. So what happens is, if these checkboxes are not selected and you try to import or paste an object which has a mismatched or missing color profile, you won't be seeing any warning, or it will do automatically the task which is you have assigned in the color management dialog box. But it is not a good idea to turn this off. It's always recommended that you turn this on for a better management of your incoming media. And what happens is, let's say for example I have now turned off the warning boxes, and now when I try to import this image, there is no warning of any kind. The image gets imported as it is. And let's see what happens when we turn on the checkboxes. We'll try to import the same image, and this time you can see there is a missing color profile RGB dialog box. So there is no color profile at present associated with this incoming image. So what CorelDRAW gives you the option of either you can assign the existing document profile to the image, or you can select the different color profile from the list provided. Preferably you assign the working document color profile, and accordingly the color values will be affected. So it's always a good idea to keep these warning checkboxes on. Next is I've seen many a times that the artistic text object is mishandled quite miserably by many users. What they try to do is to achieve certain text effects. Let's say they want to increase the height of this text object, they will simply stretch the text object from the side handles. Now this is a very bad idea to do this. As you can see here, there is a shift in the height and the width of this character, so does not look good or does not look professional, I would say, in your design. So what if you want to use such long elongated text in your design? There are specific fonts designed for this purpose. So let's try with the font family of Swiss. You have this Swiss BT font, which has a series of whole options which you can use. Now I want to use a little elongated font. There is a condensed BT font available for use without the text being stretched unproportionately. So here you can see the height and width of all these horizontal and vertical lines are perfectly matching up. So there is no ugliness in this text object. So when you are using an artistic text object, it is always recommended that you scale the text object with corner handles rather than using the side handles, which will always make your text object look very ugly when you stretch from side handles. So avoid scaling the text object from side handles, and if you use the corner handles, there is no unproportionate scaling over here and the text looks very good. So that's another point to be remembered while designing a good document. Next is many users give outline to text objects, and there are many fonts that look very spiky when an outline is given to that particular text object. So I have seen this spikes not being handled properly and they are printed as it is. So there is a way to get rid of those spikes in Corel. So when you select the text object and you go to the outline box, you simply change the corners to round corners, and you can see that the spikes are removed and the outline is perfectly aligned with the text object now. So that's the way you get rid of those outline spikes. You change the corners to round corners from the metered corners, so the spikes are taken care of. There it is. Another very basic error that we see is the text gets trimmed from the bottom of the text frame. This is because unknowingly we try to scale the text frame, and how the paragraph text works is when you try to scale the paragraph text box, the text font size is not affected at all. It is only the outer frame that is changing its size. So what happens is when you try to scale down the text object, you can see this red mark border across the text box that suggests that there is some part of text flowing out of the text box. So either you need to change or resize this paragraph text box, or maybe you can reduce the font size to accommodate the text inside the frame area. Mostly this happens when you have a very complex design with a group of different objects. Like I have this group of objects I will import here. This way. So let's say we have finalized the design, and I have to now finally reduce this design by a few millimeters. And when I try to do that, what happens is unknowingly I have scaled down the paragraph text boxes, and now all text frames have missing text elements. So it is very easy to miss out such changes. So you have to be very careful while finalizing the design, and either you scale down the font size of the text object, or you change the size of the text frame itself so that no part of the text is trimmed. So this is how you have to be careful with paragraph text boxes, which normally many users miss out and overlook, I would say rather, while finalizing the design. Next is Power Clip Frame dialog lines. This was the feature that was introduced in CorelDRAW X6, wherein you can convert any object into a power clip frame. When you right click on the object, there is something called as frame type, and you create empty power clip frame for mock-up designs. Now what happens is, by default, CorelDRAW will print and export these diagonal lines. So when you try to, let's say, print this specific particular page, let's say I'll try to print this current page to a PDF file, and let's print it on the desktop. And when you go to desktop, you can see that those diagonal lines are also printed. So normally you would not want those diagonal lines to be printed or exported to your mock-up designs. So when you go to Tools, Options, and under Workspace, there is something called as Power Clip Frame, and there is a setting to either completely turn off those diagonal lines so that they are not exported or neither they are printed, or you can keep those lines only for on-screen display. So there are two options you can select. Now if I print this again to a PDF file, you can see those lines are gone. So they are only displayed on the screen for your reference in mockup design. So that's one option you have to be aware of, and it's quite a handy feature. So let's move to the next option. This is a file compatibility dialog box that pops up when you downsave the file. What happens is, this is again a very useful feature introduced while X6 was released with open type changes and features that were not supported by earlier versions. What I have seen with many users is, let's say they have used a feature that is not compatible with earlier version, like say transparency in fountain fill, which is not available in X5, X6 and earlier versions. So what happens is, when you use such features in your drawing, and when you try to downsave this file to lower version, X6 or X5, what Corel does is, it will warn you with this dialog box saying that the feature used in this design is not compatible with the version you are trying to save to. So either you can choose to keep the appearance of your design, or you can keep the object editable as it is, but choosing this option will change the appearance of this object because those features are not available in earlier versions. Now what I've seen mostly with users is when they see this dialog box, what they do is to keep the object editable, and even worst is they will turn this checkbox on to don't show this message box ever again. Now this is the most dangerous thing to do in my opinion. So what will happen is in future, every time incompatible feature is used and you try to downsave, you are not warned of the object changes that are going to occur while downsaving the file. So this is not the best of the idea to turn this dialog box off. You can always turn on from going to save options, and it is always recommended to keep appearance for the better compatibility. So what will happen is when this feature is not available in the earlier version, it will convert those objects to bitmaps and will maintain the look of the object or your design. So there is no major change in your design. That's one way of keeping your design intact. Another problem that users face is when they try to export object with round edges to bitmaps. There seems to be some trimming occurring at the edges of the object. For example, I select this red circle, and if I try to export this for web, and I'll select this JPEG option as it is, and I'll save as test1. Again, I'll select the second object, save as test2, and I have object 3, that is test3. Now when those bitmap images are reused or imported in your design, you can noticeably see that the left side of the edges seems trimmed. So probably because of the anti-aliasing thing, a little jaggedness is seen in the left edge of the object. So how you can get rid of this is simply by adding a dummy object. You can select this object, and when you shift double click on the rectangle box, rectangle is created across the selection, and you just can increase the size of this rectangle just a little bit and remove any outline and fill from the object, and then you select both the objects during the export. So what happens is when you try to re-import these images back, there is no trimming occurring in the edges. That's the way. Export for web, H2, and the third one is this text object. Again, I will increase this size just a little, remove any outline or color from this, select both the objects, export for web, H3, it is this. And now when I try to import these images, you will see that there is no trimming at the edge. So that's the trick you'll have to use while exporting round edged objects to JPEGs. Another issue that most of the users have seen is when they try to export this object to web. Let's say I will convert the unit to pixels, and when I select this object, I see the size of the object as 313 pixels. Now when I try to export this as a web, what happens is I see there is a 1 pixel of size increase here. Now this can be easily taken care of by going or changing the view tool pixel mode, and if you zoom into this one of the corner, you can see that the object is not properly aligned with the pixel grid of the document, and that's the reason Corel tries to add a anti-aliasing pixel to the image. And if I now, let's say, move this object and snap it to a perfect document grid, and now if I go and try to export this for the web, you will see that there is no change in the size of the object. Another reason for a change in size could be the outline in the object. There is a 1 pixel outline given to this object, and when you try to export this, let's say I go to outline box, I convert this unit into pixel. Now there is a 1 pixel outline. Now by the way the CorelDRAW applies outline is that half of the outline goes inside the object, or rather behind the object. So what I can do is I can double this pixel value and turn on the behind fill. When I click OK, again if I see that this pixel has been perfectly aligned with the pixel grid, this node, so while exporting this object I will not notice any change in size. There it is, 315. There is 1 pixel of outline on each side of the object added to this area. So if I try to move this object just a little bit offset from the pixel grid, and you will see there is a change in the size of this image. So you can always toggle to pixel view mode and make sure the object snaps to the pixel grid so that you get the perfect export size while exporting the object. There it is. Another very common mistake that I see users doing is they try to do things manually instead of using the inbuilt command or tool set available in CorelDRAW. Now in this case, for example, if you want to place this triangle rotating across this circle, what I have seen users doing is they will make copies of the triangle and then try to manually rotate and set it on the edge of the circle. I have literally seen users doing this and wasting a lot of time while doing this, and also there is no accuracy involved in this method. So the better way to achieve such result is you for the reference, let's say you can add a guideline to the center of the circle, which is the source of this center of rotation. What we can do is when you toggle the selection of the triangle, there is a center which you can drag and align it to the center of this circle, and by clicking the control key you can rotate this object by an angle which is divisible by 5 to get the perfect number of objects. And I'll right click once before leaving the left mouse button to make a copy of this object. Now I need to simply press Ctrl R, that is repeat command, to repeat my last action, and it perfectly aligns the object across the edge of the circle. So that's the better way of using tools and command sets rather than going the manual way. And let's go to the next one. This is related to the text that you can use while let's say you have a text which has common names like first name or last name, and you have the name of the auditorium here, let's say the Royal Albert Hall. Now if you notice here the name Anthony Gonsalves or Daniel Wapples, they are breaking up into two lines. Now, normally you would not want those names to break up into two lines, and you would always want them to be in one single line. So in such cases, what you can do is you can replace the space between first name and the second name with a special character called as non-breaking space. So that will force the application to always use those two words together on one single line. You can again do the same thing here, change the regular space between the two words with a special formatting code which is called as non-breaking space. There is one more space over here which we can change to non-breaking space, and if you see, the Royal Albert is again now aligned to the one same single line without breaking up. So that's how you make sure that the names used in the text is always on the same line. So that's a way you can handle the text. The same way we use text, you can also use the non-breaking hyphen, which forces the hyphenated text to be on one single line. So non-breaking hyphen is the way to go. You can change the normal hyphen to a non-breaking hyphen. So even the hyphenated texts are always in one single line. So this is how you can use some of the tricks to eliminate some basic errors that I have seen over the years the users have been doing them. I think this is it for now in this video. I hope you will find this video helpful and it will help you eliminate some of the basic mistakes. Thank you for watching this video, and I thank you, Coral and Cecil, for giving me this opportunity to do this webinar. Take care everyone. Thank you.